Miriam had always thought the music box was just a piece of her childhood, small, wooden, softened by years of touch. It fit in her palms, like it had been carved exactly for her hands. On the lid, a star no bigger than her thumbnail had been etched, with such precision that even in dim candlelight, it seemed alive. Her mother used to say the star was a reminder that even in the darkest night, light could survive in the smallest places. Miriam didn't fully understand what that meant at the time. She only knew that, when her mother turned the tiny metal key and the melody floated into the air, the room felt warmer, safer. The war changed that warmth. It seeped into every corner of their town on the outskirts of a larger, occupied city. Soldiers in grey coats lined the streets. Posters with slogans barked from walls. Curfews tightened, food disappeared, and neighbours vanished quietly, leaving behind empty door frames and unclaimed shoes. Miriam would clutch the music box under her blanket, twisting the key slowly, letting the tune drown out the silence of fear. Her mother had disappeared, too taken suddenly, without explanation. Before she left, she pressed the box into Miriam's hands and whispered 3 words. Keep it safe. The way her mother's fingers trembled told Miriam that the music box was no longer simply a toy. It was a secret one tied to danger. Under the red velvet lining inside the box, Miriam discovered a strip of paper covered in strange symbols she didn't understand. Her mother had hidden it so neatly that Miriam would have never found it if the velvet hadn't loosened over time. She also found a lock of dark hair wrapped in thread and a stamp from a city she'd never heard of. They were fragments of something larger, messages without context, pieces belonging to a puzzle she could not assemble. Life grew sharper, more fragile. Every knock at the door sounded like thunder. Every unfamiliar face felt like a threat. But one night, the person who knocked was family Jacob, her older cousin. He had once been a musician, then a courier, and finally became part of something Miriam only knew as the network. His face was tired, his voice thin, but when he saw the music box, his eyes sharpened. "Where did you get this?" he breathed. "Mama gave it to me." "And did she tell you what it holds?" "No, only that I should keep it safe." Jacob took the box gently, turned it over, examined the star, and lifted the lining. When he saw the coded paper, he closed his eyes and exhaled like a man who had found both a blessing and a curse. "Miriam," he said softly, "this box carries more than memory. It carries evidence, information they would kill to bury." He explained that the symbols were part of a covert musical code used by underground couriers. In a world where letters were intercepted, music became an unlikely shield. Intervals could mean letters. Rhythm could mark spacing. A melody could carry a message unnoticed by any soldier. The list hidden inside the music box, he believed, was part of a larger document that exposed upcoming deportations, names of people slated for removal within days. It also hinted at something more explosive, the involvement of local officials who cooperated willingly with occupying forces. "Your mother," Jacob whispered, "was braver than any of us knew." The war tightened further around them. Rumors of surprise raids, sudden disappearances, and midnight arrests spread like wildfire. Jacob insisted the box had to move. "If this reaches the Allied press," he said, "they cannot hide what they've done." That night, Miriam watched him pack the music box into a cloth-wrapped bundle. She realized she wasn't just holding a memory of her mother, she was carrying a weapon, one more threatening than any gun, because it held truth. Before leaving, Jacob knelt in front of her. "You may not understand everything now," he said, "but trust this. Your mother didn't give you a toy. She gave you a chance, one that could save lives." Outside, the patrol's boots echoed off stone, cold and merciless. But inside her small hands, the box remained warm, humming faintly as if urging her to be brave. And for the first time, Miriam wasn't sure the melody was a lullaby. It sounded more like a beginning. Jacob had always believed that music could speak in ways words could not. During the early war years, before everything collapsed into chaos, he trained with a civilian communications circle that specialized in coded melodies. They studied rhythm like language, turning intervals into letters, using silence as punctuation. It was clever, elegant and nearly impossible for outsiders to detect. The moment he heard the music box's tune again, played slowly under a dim lantern in Miriam's home, Jacob felt the hairs on his arms rise. This was no ordinary lullaby. The pattern was too deliberate. The upward leaps, the repeated falling thirds, the asymmetric pauses, he recognized the structure immediately. "We don't have time to waste," he told the others in the network. "This is messaging, and someone paid dearly to hide it." They began passing the box between couriers, ensuring no one person had it too long. "Mark it." Women hummed the tune under their breath. Children pretended it was a toy and played it in alleys. Musicians plucked its intervals on violins as if rehearsing. The melody floated through the streets like a ghost, invisible yet purposeful. Jacob worked tirelessly decoding it. When he translated the first section, his entire body froze. Names, dozens of names. He recognized several immediately: teachers, tradesmen, clergy, families with infants, people they knew, people scheduled for deportation within days. He lowered his head, overwhelmed by the weight of it. This, he whispered, could save them. But saving even one life meant risk. And decoding the message meant drawing attention. Within a week, someone in the network was captured during a street raid. During interrogation, a single phrase slipped out. "There is a box, a music box." Those 3 words triggered hell. A new officer, sharp-minded, unsmiling, took charge of the search. He understood patterns. He noticed when families fled an hour before a raid. He sensed when information leaked. He began hunting the source with calculated precision. Every checkpoint tightened. Every courier trembled. The melody that once felt hopeful now felt hunted. Jacob decided to divide the evidence into 3 parts. "If they catch one of us," he said, "they cannot destroy everything." The music box remained with Miriam. Something about her innocence, her quiet presence, made her the least suspicious person to carry something so dangerous. Yet danger pressed closer each day. One night, soldiers ransacked their street. Boots slammed against doors. People screamed. Jacob shoved the box into Miriam's arms. "If they find us," he said, "run. Do not look back." The door burst open. Soldiers tore the house apart. Jacob was dragged down the stairs. Miriam was cornered, trembling. The officer stepped toward her, eyes sharp as glass. "Open it," he commanded. Her shaking fingers twisted the tiny key. The melody floated into the air, soft, haunting, and the officer's expression changed. Recognition. Not of the tune itself, but of the structure. He didn't know how to decode it, but he understood one thing. "It wasn't a lullaby. It's a code," he murmured. His voice carried a chill that froze Miriam's spine. From that moment, the music box became the most dangerous object in the region. The officer's realization spread through the ranks like poison. New checkpoints appeared overnight. Collaborators whispered through back alleys. Entire neighborhoods were locked down. The hunt for the music box courier grew so tense that even children sensed the danger. Jacob, bruised and half-conscious from interrogation, managed to escape with help from a sympathetic prison medic. He arrived back at the safe house, battered but alive. His first words were not about his wounds, but the box. "Where is it?" he rasped. "With Miriam," a courier replied. "Good. She must keep moving. They're close." The next night, they fled under moonless skies. Abandoned gardens, dusty barns, half-collapsed sheds each, became a temporary refuge. Miriam held the box to her chest, terrified it might somehow make noise at the wrong time. They eventually reached an old stone church. The priest, a man with quiet wisdom carved into the lines of his face, agreed to shelter them. He guided them into a hidden crypt beneath the floorboards. But safety never lasts in war. A collaborator spotted Jacob limping into the church. Within an hour, soldiers rounded the bing. Schatzbombutstandard. The priest urged them to flee through the back passage. The group scattered into the night. Then, gunshots. One of their members, a courier known only as Marek, threw himself between the soldiers and the fleeing children. His sacrifice bought them precious seconds. Miriam didn't see him fall, but she heard the final echo of the shots, swallowed by the wind. Jacob, bleeding heavily, collapsed behind a crumbling stone wall. He pressed the music box into Miriam's trembling hands. "You must finish what your mother started," he whispered. "You must carry it farther than I ever could." Tears blurred her vision. "But I'm just a girl." "So was she," Jacob said. "And she changed everything." He urged her to run toward the coast, toward the last hope they had. She ran. Soldiers stormed past the alleys she hid in. Dogs barked. Lights swept the streets. But Miriam moved like a shadow, guided by nothing more than desperation and the memory of her mother's voice. By dawn, she reached the outskirts of the port city. The sea smelled of rust and salt. Ships rocked gently, unaware of the world burning just inland. She clutched the music box, the weight of lives, of truth, of sacrifice nestled inside its wooden walls, and stepped toward the docks. The sailor who agreed to take the box was old, grizzled, and moved like someone who had outlived too many storms. He didn't ask many questions, only looked into Miriam's eyes and nodded, as though he already understood the importance of what she carried. "This will go across the water," he promised. 2 people who listen. That was all she needed. The ship departed at dawn. Miriam watched it vanish into the horizon, fear and hope twisted together in her chest. Across the sea, in a neutral port city, a small team of analysts began decoding the melody. Among them was an aging composer named Elis Bruckner. He had spent his youth transcribing ancient scores and believed every piece of music contained a hidden story. When they played Miriam's tune, he leaned forward, listening with a stillness that filled the room. He tapped his pencil to the rhythm, hummed the intervals, then began writing rapidly. Hours later, he looked up, eyes wide. This is not only a deportation list," he whispered. "This exposes collaborators, officials, administrators, people who orchestrated the machinery of disappearance." The room froze. Here it was, proof powerful enough to shake governments. News agencies caught the story. A foreign journalist published the first article. Quiet, precise, devastating. It named names. It described coded melodies. It revealed the existence of a network of ordinary people risking everything to preserve truth. The regime reacted with fury. Censors raided printing houses. Officials denied everything. But they couldn't stop the story from spreading. Copies circulated in underground circles. Foreign broadcasts repeated it. People whispered about the girl with the music box. Truth has a way of growing once planted. Years later, after the war ended and trials began, evidence from the music box became part of official records. Survivors referenced it. Scholars wrote about it. Investigators used it to match testimonies. In an archive filled with quiet reverence, the music box rested beneath glass. The wood had faded, but the star still glimmered faintly. Miriam, now grown, visited it one winter morning. She placed her hand on the glass. "Thank you," she whispered, not only to the box, but to everyone who carried its truth. Her mother, Jacob, Marek, the priest, the sailor, the analysts, the journalists. The plaque beneath the display read, "The music box and the list, for the voices that were silenced, and for those who dared to listen." She closed her eyes and imagined turning the key one last time. The melody floated in her memory, soft, trembling, hopeful. A song that once saved lives. A song that told the truth when words were forbidden. A song that began in the hands of a girl who believed she was too small to make a difference. But small things like stars, like melodies, like music boxes can change the course of history.